This is Jason from Corpsela Gaming, and you are watching Chris, the old ass retro gamer. Enjoy, bitch.
Hey everybody, Chris the old ass retro gamer here, back for one more video game collection live stream, the first of 2023. New year, same shit. Going to talk about another big chunk of my original PlayStation 1, PS1 collection. Last week I talked about some of the peripherals that I have, the Japanese PS1, and my games that I currently own in the long boxes. Now I'm going into the massive amount of PlayStation games that I have in the jewel cases, and I have a lot. I'm going to probably have to split this video up into 4 parts. First part was last week. Today is part 2. There's probably going to be 2 more parts in this. It is, yeah, maybe 5. I don't know. Possibly. Could be. Should be. So we'll see how that goes. Anyway, so last week, I said I talked about all of my long boxes, and we're going through the letter D today, and like an entire shelf of this gigantic bookshelf that I have my PlayStation games on is all the way up. It's like from A through D. It is massive. Like I have so many games for the first 4 letters of the alphabet. It's kind of comical. So why do I do these live streams? Number 1, it's good content. Number 2, it's fun. Number 3, get to chat with everybody. And number 4, it's always good to have a visual record of everything in the collection, just in case something bad happens. You know, you have proof that you owned it. It was in your hand. You had it. It's on camera. Everything on the internet's true. Let's get into it. All right. So starting off with, let's see here. 007 Racing. What is up, Mondane? Not here to brag. I'm not here to brag. It's to talk, to chat, content. 007 Racing. I think this is the only console this was on, except maybe like the Game Boy Color or something. But like when it came to like a home console, I think this was the only one. It wasn't on Saturn or Nintendo 64 or anything like that. I always thought this was kind of like a kart racing 007 game, but it's kind of like trying to be a combination of like an arcade racing game and Twisted Metal. There's some combat in here also, so it's kind of like, I guess, Wipeout, but just no hover cars. It's okay. It's one of those 007 games that feels like they made it just to retain the license for another year. But it's not terrible, but it could have been a hell of a lot better, although it is kind of funny. If you really look at the license plate on 007's car on the cover, the license plate is a bunch of it's the PlayStation buttons. Left 1, right 1, triangle square, or triangle circle X. That's funny to me. Don't ask me why. Never really played it a whole bunch. I picked it up really cheap somewhere, probably at Half Price Books. It's where I usually was getting all of my stuff. It was either there or at the CD recyclery or whatever it was called. They used to be by my work. I can't remember the name of it. J-Chip. Oh, shit. J-Chip signed up. Oh, my God. He's an asshat now. Enjoy all of your emotes, and thank you very much for signing up. That's awesome. Next up, we have... I played the Nintendo 64 version of this at It's Rocket Sauce's place for the Cartridge Club, was it Extra Life charity stream that I took part in early in December. This, I guess, was supposed to come out on the PlayStation and the Nintendo 64, and the Nintendo 64 version got canceled. And then Pico Interactive, Pico with a K, not a C, bought the code for what was done and basically just put the finishing touches on it and then gave it a Nintendo 64 release. I think they did like a Kickstarter for it or something like that. And Rocket Sauce got one of the boxed games. And I played it for the stream, and it's okay. It's like Mario 64, I guess. It's just very chunky. It's a game called 40 Winks. It's a 3D platformer. Like I said, it's very much like Super Mario 64. Oh, happy birthday. Happy birthday, J-Chip. Thanks for coming. I'm glad you showed up. I think it's a code to get for the game on the cover. It could be. It should be. I hope it is. I've never tried it. Yeah, it's a 3D platformer like Super Mario 64. It is a little bit clunky. I was having a lot of problems when I was playing the Nintendo 64 version of like controlling my jumps because I couldn't I hate that thumbstick on the Nintendo 64 so much that I would like jump and I would always like veer off as I was jumping. It kind of stunk. What's up, Game Room? Welcome. Glad to see you. It's not that great. Why Pico Interactive thought it was like imperative to release that Nintendo 64 version, I don't know, because this game is not like awesome in any way, at least the stuff that we played. I mean, we played it for maybe 45 minutes to an hour, and I was just kind of like, eh. So I don't get it, but whatever. I did manage to find this at Half Price Books. I remember that much. Next up, we have something near and dear to what I'm currently into, and that is Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, Iron and Blood, Warriors of Ravenloft. This is a very long title game, one of the longest titles in gaming history. Next to those, the Naruto games that I have, the Naruto Shippuden or whatever they're called. There's like 30 words in those titles. This is a Dungeons and Dragons one-on-one fighter, and the thing about this is it's very similar to another licensed fighting game that came out on the PlayStation 1 called Masters of Terraskazi, where it was not very well developed. It is very clunky, and the controls kind of stank, and the characters are kind of shitty. It's just not that great. And the only reason I picked this up was it was dirt cheap at whatever store I found it in. I don't remember where. It was probably that recyclery place that I used to go to by my job, because I was just buying pretty much everything I saw that I was remotely into back then because I was just trying to build up a collection. But yeah, this is not great. The graphics are very like everybody's like chunky, blocky. It's an ugly game. It's just not good. But it's Dungeons and Dragons, so I'm keeping it. I might not think it's awesome, but I don't think it's so terrible that I want to purge it from the collection. You know, the dranky drank. Next up is Akuji the Heartless. This is a 3D platformer beat 'em up. It's by Crystal Dynamics, the people that make the Tomb Raider games. This is right after they stopped making 3DO stuff and they moved over to the PS1. Yeah, it's all right. It's kind of like Shadow Man, I guess, a little bit. But you're playing as like this Aborigine type character. I don't think he's supposed to be that. It's just like the voodoo priest Akuji. Nah. I never really put much time into it. I remember bringing this home from, I probably was Half Price Books. I think it was Half Price Books. Bringing this home and testing it out to make sure it worked. And I was just kind of like, okay, there we go. And I didn't really put a whole lot of time into it. But it does look kind of cool. I mean, you see some of the pictures on the back, and it's like, yeah, should be all right. I would normally play this, but this is the year of the RPG, and I'm just trying to beat Bloodstained this year so I can get right into playing Phantasy Star, because that is the Cartridge Club game of the month for the was it the CC Prime. So I want to play through that, and then I can get into Final Fantasy VII Remake. But this includes a demo of Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver and Tomb Raider 3. So that shows you the timeline when this came out, because this came out between Tomb Raider 2 and 3. Yay. Here's one that I really like. I know a lot of people don't like it. I think this was like the precursor to Alien Isolation, where it's like, this one, there are multiple. It's Alien Resurrection. I don't like this movie at all. I think this is the worst movie in the original 4, Sigourney Weaver Alien films. This is the worst one for me. But this one kind of does the mood thing that Alien Isolation ended up doing, years down the line, where this one, there are multiple aliens running around, but there's like long stretches where you just hear things in the background. You'll see something like skitter across a corridor, like in the distance or something like that. They're trying to scare you in this one. It's not always successful. I mean, it's a first-person shooter, and it's very dark, and the controls aren't the greatest, but I think it does a pretty good, like the way it's set up. I think it's very good at replicating at least the first movie, with like the scares and stuff like that, and just trying to set up like this, like the sense of dread that there's always something lurking around the corner. But it's not the greatest game, but I enjoy it. So there's that. Gotta have it. Licensed game. Gotta have it. And this one just makes me laugh. This is like one of those budget games that came out toward the end of the PlayStation's life cycle, where, what was it, Age Tech was releasing all these, like, what were they called? Like the simple somethings. There's like all these racing games on one disc. There's all these these shooters on one disc. There's all these bowling games on one disc. And this was All-Star Slamming D-Ball. This is Dodgeball. It is essentially an updated version of Super Dodgeball from the NES. And I put this on my Diamonds in the Rough for the PlayStation 1 in the video that I made on that topic years ago. And this game is actually kind of fun. If you liked Super Dodgeball on the NES, this is exactly the same game, just with better graphics. But you still have the same repeating characters, just like in that game and all that. And double tap to run and throw the ball, and you might get like a special zoomy ball or whatever, something that's like on fire or whatever. And it's all it is just throwing balls across a court and trying to hit other people in the head. And there's a couple of different arenas. I think there's like 6 or 7 arenas. And that's about it. There's nothing special about it. Like I said, this was a budget title, but surprisingly, it's a lot of fun. For something that probably cost $10 back in the day, yeah. And I picked this up, I think this is before, I didn't sell this one. I've had this one for years. I ended up having to upgrade because the case it was in didn't have the back art. I bought it at, what was it, EB Games, and it was in like this like cheap plastic snap casey thing that was the size of a jewel case, but just had no back art. It was just the game and the manual. I ended up buying a new copy just so I could have the back art, and then got rid of the other parts of it that I didn't need. Terrible name for Dodgeball, yeah. You say D-ball to somebody, and it's like dick ball? Like, what's that supposed to be? Like I'm confused. And it looks like a volleyball on the cover. So, yeah. Unless you, like, read the back, you wouldn't know. Here is a series of RPGs that I still have not played. I probably should. It is the year of the RPG. We're talking Alundra. This one is by the Working Designs Mondane. I love how Working Designs always does these metallic covers and all that are reflective and everything and change colors. They're so fantastic. Even the back has like gold art on that. It's pretty rad. I've never actually played this. I got this at the Exchange down the street when I first got back into collecting in the early 2010s. And I played it just to make sure it worked, and it worked fine, and that was it. I basically just put it back on the shelf. And the thing is, the only reason that this is in one of these double width jewel cases is because the manual for this game is like thick with 2 C's. Like, look at that thing. It is heavy duty, though. This cover is like thick paper. Every one of them is a laminated, like not laminated, but like a really high quality glossy paper, full color and everything. Hell yeah. Even the artwork is raised on the manual. That's fantastic. And there's a lot of awesome artwork on the inside. I think Nintendo, one of the guys that I hang out with in Nintendo's streams on Twitch was playing this recently. It might have been Roaming Dan, and he was kind of complaining about it, but like I still want to play it. I mean, I wouldn't have bought it if I didn't want to play it. Just finding the time to play it is the issue. Well, frustrating jumping and platforming in 3D. But is it good? Ow, I just whacked my fucking knuckles on the bottom of my desk. That stings. Shit. Anyway. And then we also have Alundra 2, A New Legend Begins. Although this one isn't by Working Designs, this one is by Activision. So they bought the rights to it, I guess. But apparently that was popular enough and sold enough copies to get a sequel. So we shall see. Haven't played this one at all because I'm not going to play the sequel until I beat the original. So there's that. So I guess the question is, Mondane, is Alundra 2, does it equal up to what the original is, or is it dog poo? Talk to me, tell me something. Here's a game that came out, and it was like to show off the DualShock controller, which had just dropped at the time that this game came out. This game required its use from what I remember, but I never played it, never bought it, I've never played any of the games in this franchise. The only one that I was really excited about getting that used the DualShock was the director's cut of Resident Evil, and I think the Resident Evil 2 re-release that used the DualShock, but We're talking Ape Escape. This one, like, I think requires the use of the DualShock because there's things that it does specifically in this game. Yeah, the first and only game that takes full advantage of the DualShock analog controller. Use both analog sticks, rotate them, sling them back and forth, push them down for unequaled and revolutionary controller action. Hunt down 200 unruly apes. So it's a collectathon, but instead of collecting bananas like in Donkey Kong or something like that, you're looking for like apes that have gone crazy. And they've all got sirens on their head like little cherries from a police car kind of thing. I never played this back in the day. All I know is it's a 3D platformer. A lot of people I know liked it. I just never played it myself. I still have not played it, so I can't really comment. So, is it good? Sure. Has sequel syndrome, which means it's just repeating. This is one that I know a lot of people don't like. I love it. I played the shit out of this back in the day, and I had a lot of fun with it. It's called Apocalypse, and yes, it is starring Bruce frickin' Willis. So from what I understand, Bruce Willis was like approached to be in this game pretty early on, but he didn't want to be the lead. He was designed to be the sidekick to the main character. So basically, they brought him in to get scanned facially so they could put his face on a character, and all the dialogue he recorded were like jokes. It was just quips and like stuff that he would be saying to the main character when he would do stuff. And then like when they were basically like halfway through the production, they were just kind of like, you know what? We paid Bruce Willis. We're going to make him the lead in the game. Screw this sidekick stuff. It's just going to be him. You're going to play as Bruce, slap the face on the main character, throw all those jokes that he recorded because he didn't want to come back to re-record because he did not like the fact that he was becoming the main character. So every single time he speaks in this game, he is just cracking jokes. There is no real dialogue coming from it. It's just joke after joke after joke. And they repeat a lot, and they get very old, and a lot of them aren't funny. But it's a 3D platformer action game where you're playing as Bruce Willis, and if I remember correctly, you're like escaping from a jail or something at the beginning. It's been a long time since I played it. But it's fun. It's just a little clunky because some of the 3D platforming is a pain in the ass. I remember there's this one level where you're like trying to ascend like this spiral of boxes, and the width is maybe like twice the size of your character or twice the width of your character. And sometimes you'll be moving forward and your character will just start to drift a little bit as you're going and you'll fall. It's very frustrating, but I always kind of liked the game because it was like playing a Bruce Willis action movie. Just really, really cool. I liked it a lot. Yeah, if it wasn't for Bruce Willis, like having his likeness and like his voice in the game, it did like mark it up. Like if I were to give it like a star rating, normally I think I would have given it maybe like a 2.5. But having Bruce Willis in there, it makes it like a 3.5 kind of thing. So yeah, here we go. Another working designs. This is one of the big ones. So the last year that the Midwest Gaming Classic was at the hotel, when it was out in a tent in the parking lot of this hotel in Milwaukee, I went to that convention that year with like a list of 5 games that I wanted to buy, and I wasn't going to leave until I had them. And I found each and every one of them under the price I was expecting to pay. One of them was the Ark the Lad collection from the Working Designs. Complete in the box with everything. This huge-ass, thick box that opens up in the front to tell you all about the game because there's nothing on the back. So it has 3 games in it: Ark the Lad 2, and Ark Arena, and Ark the Lad 3. It comes with 5 game CDs, an exclusive making of Ark the Lad CD, 150-page leatherette hardbound art book, instruction manual, exclusive thumb button covers, exclusive memory card holder, and exclusive character mini standees. Still haven't played this. Last PS1 game that Working Designs did. That is interesting. I did not know that. So let's look at the stuff that comes in here. So yeah, these are 3 RPGs. I have a lot of games in this series. I had not played any of them. Just maybe pop the disc in to make sure it works. So for starters, we have. So whoever bought this originally got it at Half Price Books. I bought this at the convention because this has a Half Price Books sticker on it. So comes with a double width case with some pretty Fantastic artwork inside. That looks very Final Fantasy VIII. And this thing comes with 5 freaking discs. There's disc 1. Come on, I'm going to do this without breaking these. So that's disc for the third game. That's disc 1 and disc 2. And then you have Arc the Lad. What does that say? Monster Tournament? Not for individual sale. Oh, you're not supposed to break this up? Ooh. Then Arc the Lad 1 and Arc the Lad 2. So this disc must be that supplementary CD that they're talking about. All right. So there's that. And then you've got this thick-ass collection book that is like the art book and the manual. It's so big that it has like one of those cloth... What do they call them? Save your page. I can't remember the name of them. I haven't used one of these in the longest time. But whatever. Thick book. It's very high quality. It is fantastic. And it has... Is it the entire freaking walkthrough of the game? God damn. A bookmark. Yeah, that's it. My brain. It's not operating at all cylinders tonight. It's been a long day. I almost fell asleep at work again. Oh, Jesus. Don't drop them. Okay, so this comes with like thumbstick covers, these button-looking things up here. You put these over the thumbsticks on the DualShock. Has these little paper character cutout things, which I am not going to open up. But they're like little standees with character images on them. And then a case to protect your memory card that is Arc the Lad branded. So it essentially just like snaps open in the front. And you can slip your memory card in there. Yay! What I've always wanted! So Working Designs released a lot of these kind of big boxed RPGs like this, like Lunar 1 and 2, which you might be seeing later on. Like I said, I have not played these, but once I complete the 3 games that I have tasked myself with playing so far this year for the RPG thing, so we're talking Phantasy Star, the original Phantasy Star, and then Final Fantasy VII Remake, and then Ys 8. Like, it's up for grabs what I'm going to play after that. Like, I have so many RPGs laying around here I need to play. This could be one of them. So we shall see. You are caffeinated? I need to get very caffeinated. I left my badge at home today from work, and my keys to my desk are in there where I have my energy drink stuff. So I'm not caffeinated, so that's why I'm drinking Mountain Frickin' Dew. And it's not working. The point on the map eats plastic. What? Pocket watch? What are you talking about? I have no idea. Anywho, next up we have a compilation. I almost talked about this in that arcade game compilation short that I did a couple of weeks ago. We're talking the Arcade Party Pack. These are games by Midway. This has 720 Degrees, Smash TV, Klax, Rampage, Super Sprint, and Tubin. So I put this in. This is the first game that I popped into my PS3 a couple of weeks ago when I realized that my slim PS3 actually plays PS1 games. And I was just like, what? I want to play some Smash TV. And it works perfectly fine. I loved it. So, yeah, you can see where I got this from. I think I got this from not People Play Games, Video Games Then and Now. You can see I paid $12.99 for it. Need to get that label off. But anyway, 720, Klax, Smash TV, Super Sprint, Tubin, and Rampage Arcade Perfect versions. And I played through a little bit of Klax, some Smash TV, and some Rampage, and they played just like I remember, just using a controller instead of a joystick. Yay! If you like arcade ports, that's for you. Arc the Lad had a pre-order item. Nice pocket watch. No, I do not have that. Next up we have... So I only have the second one of these for the PlayStation because I have the first one for the Dreamcast, and I didn't want to double dip because this is not that important to me that I need to have 2 copies of the same game when one will do. And this is the Arcade's Greatest Hits Midway Collection 2. This is another compilation of arcade games, which is Blaster... Burger Time, which is one of my favorite arcade games of all time. Joust 2, hells yes. I absolutely love Joust. That one, I would like go to arcades. There was this, I think I've talked about it before. Yeah, it was when I was talking about the Genesis. There was that store, a Kmart that I worked at when I was in high school. Across the street, there was this mom and pop owned music shop that eventually like started getting movies that you can rent, and that became our primary movie renting, like VHS renting place or rental place. They also started selling video games. That was where I was getting the Genesis games because the Kmart wasn't carrying Genesis. And they were music too, obviously. They had a couple of arcade games in the back, and Joust 2 was one of them. The thing about Joust 2 that sets it apart from the first one is the first game is just a standard CRT size. Part 2 is like this long vertical CRT. It kind of changes the way the game plays, so it's fantastic to get that version on here in the correct aspect ratio. It also has Moon Patrol, Root Beer Tapper. It isn't Budweiser branded, so you don't get the beer version. Splat, is that what it says? Yeah, Splat and the original Spy Hunter. All games except for Splat that I've played multiple times in the arcade. Absolutely love it. Had to have this one. I love the first one. I had the first one originally back in the day for the PlayStation 1, but when I was getting everything for the complete Dreamcast collection, this game, or the first collection, is available for that console, so that's where I own it now. Yeah. Loves it. Lunar on the PS1 comes with a cloth map. Yeah, I do have it. The map has paint on it that will eat through the game disc. I don't have it inside the disc, do I? I'll have to check. Excuse me, by the way. If I had a CRT, I could play this. I think it requires... Oh, you can use a mouse. Time to get a PlayStation mouse. Area 51. I used to play this arcade game all the time. It is a light gun game. Everything is done with live action characters like Mortal Kombat. It's very weird and very kind of stupid. I remember it being like super freaking cheesy, but I played it in the arcade all the time because I love a good light gun game. Like, you can't tear me away from those. Like, if I were to go to an arcade right now and there'd be like a Mortal Kombat 2 coin op and a light gun coin op, especially one that I'm familiar with, it's going to be like really hard for me to make the decision which one I want to go to first. So I used to play the crap out of this, and then the other one, which was like Maximum Damage or something similar to that. It sounds like Maximum Damage or Maximum something. But I played the crap out of that at the Midwest Gaming Classic. They had the coin op there, and I played it for a good 15 minutes. But like I said, it's just you killing a bunch of aliens that are trying to take over Area 51. Point and shoot. Point and spray. Nothing complicated. Just an arcade port. Self-destructing after reading. Yeah, is it the first Lunar? Lunar on the PS. Let me check. I'll put you all on hold real quick. Be right back, because I want to make sure I'm not destroying a game that I want to play. Okay, so I double checked, and the map was between disc 3 and 4, and it was kind of stuck to the artwork on the outside of the discs, and I kind of peeled it off. It didn't affect the artwork in any way. I checked the discs themselves. They look fine. Now I have the map between the book and the jewel case. So, Glad you told me that. Could have been sitting there for years, and by the time I get around to playing it, yikes. I do not want to have to buy that one again because it was kind of expensive. By the way, spoilers, I own Lunar. Okay, so back to the games. We got the Armorines Project Swarm. Originally, when I got back into collecting, I bought this on the Nintendo 64 because it was one of the games that required the expansion pack. But, as we all know, I can't stand the Nintendo 64. So, when I found a copy of this available on the PlayStation 1 that was like dirt cheap, I was like, you know what? I could probably get some good money for the boxed Nintendo 64 version that I have. I'll just swap it out for this. And I did get a nice chunk of money for the Nintendo 64 one. What it is the first-person shooter. I love first-person shooters. And it's kind of like playing Starship Troopers, where you're just attacking gigantic bugs all the time. It's also a very early PlayStation, this generation first-person shooter, so the controls are a little wonky, but, you get used to it after a while. Just go and play some Alien Trilogy, and you're good. But it's okay. It could have been a hell of a lot better. But, whatevs. I love a first-person shooter. Got to have all the first-person shooters. You put my map in a Ziploc bag. I might have to do that. I might just put it like behind the book so it's touching the cardboard of the box and the manual. Licensed game, had to have this. I found this really cheap at half-price books, and that's Atlantis: The Lost Empire. I saw the movie in the theater opening night. Was not expecting to see Disney do a remake of Stargate, just with water instead of outer space. But I did. The game is partially a 3D platformer and partially like vehicular underwater stuff from like in the third person. It's okay. I played it a little bit when I first got it to make sure it worked. And it's like your typical licensed game of the time. It just does not feel very well thought out, and it's just kind of rushed and kind of incorporates some of the ideas from the movie, but then there's a lot of other stuff. You get to play as a bunch of the different characters from the movie, like the engineer and the main character that Michael J. Fox voices, Milo, I think his name is, and a couple of the other characters. It's okay. It could have been a hell of a lot better, but it's a licensed game. It's not the worst one. It's definitely not the best. Next up, yeah. So I had to get this because licensed game. I knew of its reputation, but I bought it anyway because I had to have it. Licensed game. And I found it now it's 2 years. This was 2021. When I went to visit Rocket Sauce in Wisconsin, we went game hunting all around the state. I bought a copy of Batman and Robin. So I have Batman Forever on different consoles, different Batman Forever games, not the same one. I have Batman Returns games. I have the original Batman games. I wanted one based on Batman and Robin because as far as I know, this is the only one we got aside from the one that came out for the Game.com or the Gamecom. It's a 3D platformer where you're playing as Batman. I think you get to play as Robin too. And there's some vehicle levels, but it is just one of the clunkiest freaking things ever. This is like one of those games that was just rushed out. And after the reputation the movie has, the game has the exact same reputation. It is not good. This and the Fifth Element game are probably two of the worst licensed games on the PlayStation 1. Bar none. But I wanted to have it because licensed game. And that big picture of George Clooney Batman. Oh my God. Why couldn't they just put a big picture of Nicole Kidman on the Batman Forever games instead of like the whole cast? I just want a big ass picture of Nicole Kidman because she was hot as hell in that damn movie. God damn. Stick my self-destructing map with that? I should. It's not good. I fully admit it. It's not good. And so this one is bad too. And I actually had another YouTuber warn me about it, and I completely ignored it because it was cheap when I bought it. And I was just kind of like, no, it can't be that bad, can it? And maybe he's just being overly critical. I love games from this franchise. Oh, God. Beast Wars, Transformers. So I did a couple of live stream videos with me and Captain Foley from Trek Yards. And we're talking about, like, he wanted to do, like, we did we did one video about Star Trek games. It was him and Samuel, who was his co-host for Trek Yards. And then he, like, contacted me when I was at Gen Con, of all places. I remember I was playing a Star Trek board game called Ascendancy, I think. And I got a text from him on Facebook Messenger, and he's like, "Hey, I want to do another video with you. Could we do one about Transformers games?" And I was like, "Absolutely. Contact me when I get back from vacation." you know. And then we each had to pick in the video one really bad Transformers game. I picked Mystery of Convoy for the Famicom, and he picked this. And he was like, I'm not a Beast Wars fan. He's not a Beast Wars fan either. Oh no, he is a Beast Wars fan. He just didn't like the game. He doesn't like the Nintendo 64 version either, the Transmetals one. But like he warned me, he's like, this game is shit. He's like, that's why I'm talking about it as my least favorite Transformers game. And then like 3 or 4 months later, I go to visit my brother in LA, and he takes me to Game Dude, and they had this on the shelf, and it was like dirt cheap. I think it was like $10 or something. And I was just like, well, I don't care. Give it to me. And yeah, it's pretty craptastic. It's a 3D action platformer where you play as a bunch of different Transformers from the Beast Wars line. And it just does not control very well, like at all. And the graphics are absolutely terrible, like terrible. Like everything looks like shit. Like it's dreary, it's ugly. No. So I told him, I was like, I should have listened to you. I remember I texted him after I got home and I tested everything. I was like, I should have listened to your warnings, but I bought a copy of it. And he's just like, why, Chris? Why? Now we're getting into some Japanese PlayStation. A lot of Japanese PlayStation. Woo! I forgot how many games I have in the series. So last week, and when I was talking about the peripherals that I have, I talked about the Beatmania peripherals, the DJ game that has the turntable and the piano keys that you have to use. So I played Beatmania 3 in the arcade a lot. There was an arcade by me called GameWorks. They had Beatmania Third Mix, and I was like ditching work to go and play it. I liked it that much. They had a remix of a Metal Gear Solid track from the game that was like techno sounding, and it was freaking awesome. There's a lot of really fun songs on that in that game, and like I remember I got the soundtrack for it too because I loved it so much. And then when I found out that I could actually play the games at home, that these actually came to the PlayStation in Japan, I got the Japanese PlayStation 1, I got the controllers, and I bought all the games that I could find that were cheap on eBay. This is like eBay in like 2000, so I never sold any of these when I lost my job. I refused to sell them because I didn't have to rebuy them because I didn't know if I'd be able to find them again for the price that I paid back in like 2000. Yeah, it was around 2000, 2001. I got these for like dirt cheap off of eBay. This is like an eBay was still kind of a new thing. So I got the original Beatmania, even says on there, DJ simulation game. And it comes in like this really thick case because it is broken. I need to find some way to replace the spindle thing in here because it does not hold the disc. And the disc is shaped like a record or colored like a record. And it comes with a manual and an advertisement for the controller. That's the official one that I have down there. And I have the unofficial knockoff. But it also comes with this, which is Beatmania. If I can hold it funny so you can actually see it. Beatmania, it says right there on the center, append second mix. So every time there's an add-on to this game, and they have multiple add-ons, you need to have this first disc in order to play any of the add-ons. You need to load this one up, and then there's a part in the menu that's like, do you want to play one of the add-on discs? You select that, and then it goes into like a holding pattern. You put the other disc in, you say you're done, it loads it up, you get to play. So this is the first disc is kind of like the unlock. But so you get 2 games in one. So you get Beatmania and Append Second Mix, and it's just a absolutely fantastic rhythm game. So you can kind of see it where they don't really show it here, do they? Yeah, it's kind of right here. So you see like this bar that goes up and down the screen here. You'll see the keys for the keyboard and the symbol for the turntable. The notes move up the screen when they hit a bar. You have to tap the button that corresponds to that bar, scratch the record if it requires it, and get your points. Like you get perfects, okays, goods, terribles, bads, that kind of thing. Not hard, not complicated. Super fun because a lot of the songs in these are catchy as hell, and they were all made specifically for the game. It's not like there's some remixes from Konami games in there, like the Metal Gear Solid one I was talking about. Each game usually has at least one that's a remix from some game that they've made. But I think there's one for like Parodius in one of them. But most of them, it's just brand new like J-pop songs that and they're all different genres. You got like rock, metal, techno, jazz, ska, all that kind of stuff, all the genres, all made specifically for that game, and they're usually pretty good. Those cases are so brittle. Yeah, I need to figure out a way to get that fixed. So the one that I was playing in the arcade all the time was Beatmania Append Third Mix. So like I said, you need to have that in order to play this. And it doesn't say what songs are on here, but more of the same. It's just a bunch of new music, same play style and everything. Nothing changes play style. It's just new tracks to play. But this one is my favorite because this is the one I was playing in the arcade all the time. Then there is Beatmania Append Fourth Mix. The Beat Goes On. Same exact thing. Just new songs to play, same play style. Then we have Beatmania Append Fifth Mix. Time to Get Down. Same story. Same play style, new songs. Then we have Beatmania 6th Mix plus Core Remix. And exact same thing. It even shows you what the arcade cabinets looked like on the sides there. This one has, if I remember correctly, and 6th Mix is just more songs, and the Core Remix are remixes of the songs from the first game. Or different remixes from the first game. So, just more stuff to play. And then we've got Beatmania Append Gotta Mix, which is just like another spin-off of these. I think they wanted to stop after 7 maybe or something, because now they kind of like started over with this Gotta Mix stuff. And the only thing about this is it has these 2 old Japanese DJs on a couple of the tracks. And one of them cracks me up. And you can see the 2 dudes right there. You see that? Na-na-na-na. And then the gachon. There's a song in here where it's basically just samples of these 2 guys like making weird noises and stuff. I guess they used to do it on their radio show or something. But like the one guy keeps on going like gachon, 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 gachon. It cracks me up because it's so stupid sounding. But it's fun. Great songs on this one too. And then we got Beatmania Append Gotta Mix 2 Going Global, which is just more of the same, just more songs to play. Yeah, that's a lot of Beatmania. And then we have this. I hear it's not really, it's an RPG, but I guess it's an action RPG. It looks like a freaking RPG to me. I heard somebody say this was an action RPG, but whatever. Beyond the Beyond. I picked this up at the exchange when I first got back into collecting again. And I found it for I swear, $5. And I was just like, give that shit to me. I'm like, I don't care if it's terrible. Give it to me. The only thing is it comes in one of those double width cases for no reason. It's a 1-disc game, and the manual isn't it's thicker, but it's not super thick. It could have fit in a single. I don't get it. I think it's just to take up more space on the shelf. Ruins my life. But I have not played it, so I cannot say. But I looked at the back when I was at the store, and I was just kind of like, that looks kind of cool. Give it to me. Whew. Next stack. Woo. What are we up to now? Okay. Picked this one up recently. I picked this one up when I went to Wisconsin in 2022, and this was when I was hanging out with Captain Algebra, Rocket Sauce, and Tiger Chainsaw. And I found this at, I think, Press Start. It's called Broken Sword 2, The Smoking Mirror. And these are point-and-click adventures that are animated like a cartoon. I have a few games in this series for various consoles, so when I saw this, I was like, give it to me. If I can get a complete set of all the Broken Sword games, sure, why not? I haven't played any of them yet, so can't really comment, but so had to get that because why not? And I remember if I remember correctly, it was cheap. Just noticed that awesome RoboCop shirt. Yeah, OCP, bitches. This game, all the hate. Everybody gives this game all the hate. They were working out 3D platforming during this period, guys. I understand it's bad. I know it's bad. It didn't work out quite well, especially because the character does not have a good reputation. But you guys people have to give it some leeway because, like I said, they were still trying to figure out how to make games in 3D and make them work and be fun. That's Bubsy 3D. I understand it is not good. I know this. I know it's not good. But like I said, growing pains, everybody, growing pains. It's a platformer with Bubsy. The camera control in this game is absolutely atrocious. The way everything looks, where it's kind of like really simply designed and colored and all that, I think it's just part of the appeal of the game. But it's the camera that kills this game. Like, it is so hard to see what you're doing sometimes. But we moved past that. Now it's no problem. Like, a year or two after this game came out, everybody had it worked out. So yeah, it's not good though. I know it's not good. I have a Broken Sword for the Wii. It's like a director's cut of one of them. I think I have one for the PS4. I know I have one for the PS2. I think. Picked this one up at Game Dude when I was there because it was dirt cheap. I think this was like $3. And it's called Bug Riders, The Race of Kings. I bought it just because it was there and it was cheap and it looked kind of funny. I was like, if there's anything, I got to know. So it's like a racing game, but you're riding on bugs. Sure, why not? I knew nothing about it when I saw it. Like I said, I was just kind of like, that's funny. Give it to me. I was like, it's kind of, and it's okay. It's kind of like, I liked it. Yeah. One of the reasons I was willing to buy it to begin with was GT Interactive, which had made Rogue, what's it called? Rogue Trip, which is like a really fun vehicle combat game like Twisted Metal that I really enjoyed. They also did Deep. What's it called? Deep. Where are you? Not that. Shit. Did I screw up when I put these down? I think I did. Oh my god. Critical Depth. That's the name of it. Critical Depth, which is one of my favorite vehicular combat games ever. You'll see it later. So that's why I was willing to like buy it. I was just kind of like, that looks cool. It's made by a developer I like, so let's try it out. It's okay. It's just a cool concept. I think it's fun. Like, hey, you guys want to play a racing game where you're riding on a giant bug? Sure, why not? Another licensed game. I got this at a Goodwill, if I remember correctly, and that is A Bug's Life. I am not very fond of this game. This is like one of those early 3D platformers that's kind of clunky as all hell. So I picked it up. It was like $1 at Goodwill, which is why I bought it. I bought like a couple of games that day. They were like $1 or $2. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. I've only played this for maybe like a good half an hour to test it out, and I was not impressed with what I played. So, licensed game, sure. I'm not even that big on the movie itself. If like it was one of those dueling movies where two movies that have the same concept came out at the same time, so you had A Bug's Life and Ants. I actually preferred Ants. These games are fantastic, though. I got these at, what's it called? Play It Retro in Berwyn, which is they have a great selection. They have a ton of stuff. It is super overpriced. Everything there is eBay prices, and they actually look it up. Like, there's stuff that's not priced on the shelf. When you ask what it costs, they go to eBay and look. And it's like ridiculous. And for some reason, even during COVID, they were like, we only take cash. Like, fuck you. Really? But we're talking Bushido Blade. This was like when Squaresoft was like trying to branch out, and they were releasing a whole bunch of different games instead of just RPGs. They came out with Brave Fencer Musashi and Parasite Eve and Einhander and Bushido Blade, which is a one-on-one fighting game. They did Argyze also. This is a one-on-one fighting game where you play as like a bunch of samurais, and it's one-hit kills. You can like maim somebody. If you hit them in the arm, their arm is now useless. You hit somebody in the right spot, you can one-hit kill them. It's pretty awesome. Like, you can blow through this game if you know what you're doing in like 15, 20 minutes. But like, it's all about like strategy and like waiting for your opportunity to stab instead of just button mashing stuff, which I thought was really cool and different because I love me a good fighting game. And naturally, because that was successful, they also released Bushido Blade 2, which is more of the same, just with better graphics and control and everything and a bunch of different environments. It's awesome. I absolutely love these games. I wish they were still making them to this day because it would be absolutely fantastic to play a game like this with modern graphics and stuff. Hell yeah. The blood spray would be beautiful. These games I absolutely love. These were like some of the earliest party games that I had in my collection. Like people were coming over just to play this. Because like once I bought the first game, it became very hard to find apparently. I don't understand why. I remember I was reading about this and I loved rhythm games, obviously because of the Beatmania thing. I love rhythm games, so when I heard this was coming out, I was like, yeah, sure, I'll go buy it. And I bought it like the day it came out. I went to the mall, went to the EB Games, bought my copy, and like I started showing it to my friends, and everybody loved it. The music is fantastic. Like the company that recorded the music was like a professional like recording studio. Like it was a label or something that the developers went to make the songs. And it's absolutely, so every song is absolutely fantastic in this game. Absolutely. So much so that I went and bought the soundtrack later on because I liked it that much. They were recorded in Japanese, and when the game was ported over to the US, they re-recorded some of the songs that were in Japanese with American singers, and they're just as good. It's a dancing game, though. It's called Bust a Groove. So this is a dancing rhythm game where you have like you're playing as dueling characters. You pick a character that you want to play as throughout the game. Each character has a different dance style. You have this like bar over your character that flashes, and it's like every fourth flash, because it's going by the beat of the song, you have to hit a button and it tells you what button you have to press, like X or circle or whatever. And with each set of beats that you have to wait through, the button combinations start getting more complicated, and then you start getting more of them, like more choices, and you can like evolve this dance routine out of it as you go. And then eventually there's like a section of the song where there's like a breakdown in the song, and all of a sudden you two characters fight, and you each have like a little solo moment, and then you can even like throw something at the other character to throw them off the rhythm and get them to lose points. And the person with the highest amount of points by the end of the dance battle wins that match. Then you go on to the next one. Kitty N, the little cat lady that's in this, has the best song ever. The two aliens, Capoeira, the two little twin aliens, are awesome too. I absolutely love this game. I play it. I used to play this game every single day for months. And like I said, friends are always come over to my place. Like, can we play some Bust a Groove? Yeah, let's do it. It's fantastic. I tried playing this on my PS3 though, and it does not want to. The controller does not work for some reason. I don't get it, but the controller won't play. It won't let me play it. So I think I have to bust out my PS1 or play that on my PS2 to play that. Maybe it has something to do with the wireless controller. I don't know. But because that became so popular, they made a Bust a Groove 2. And it's more of the same. The only thing is the people that developed this game went to a different recording studio this time for the songs, and the songs are not good. I mean, they're okay. Nothing to the quality of the first game. They added in a couple more characters. The graphics were improved a little bit. The dance moves are a little bit more elaborate and stuff like that. But the thing that kills this game is that the songs are not catchy. There's maybe 2 of them that are good. The rest of them are just kind of, eh. So not the best one, but this is the harder of the 2 to find. And I went and picked this one up on day one also. Refused to sell these when I lost my job in 2011. I refused to sell them because I knew that if I wanted to get them back in my collection at some point, I was going to have to pay. So I did not want to get rid of them. Another drinky drink because the throat's going dry because these games is dusty. Anyway, we have Bust a Groove, and then we have Bust a Move. Both of these games have been renamed from what they were in Japan. So Bust a Move is actually called Puzzle Bobble in Japan, since this is part of the Bubble Bobble series. And Bust a Groove is actually called Bust a Move in Japan, but because we already have a Bust a Move over here, it got renamed to Bust a Groove. Anyway, Bust a Move 99. You ever played a Bust a Move game? Every one of them is the same. It's just a bubble-popping puzzle game. Match 3 colored bubbles that are the same color. They pop, move on to the next set, try to bust all of them on the screen. If you're playing 2-player, the more you pop, your opponent gets screwed because more blank bubbles appear on their side of the screen. It makes it harder for them to do what they need to do to win. And you get all these different patterns of bubbles and stuff like that. It's fun. It's neat. I like it. I love Bust a Move. I play it all the time. I was talking about it in the Saturn stream that I had that party, and everyone wanted to play Bust a Move and Baku all night long. So I have a soft spot for the Bust a Move games. They're very fun. Next up I picked this one up at the exchange down the street also when I got back into collecting, and that is the Buster Brothers collection. And this is an arcade game where you play as a character who like shoots a harpoon up in the air and you're trying to pop all these balloons that are like littering the space. And that's all it really is. It's just like there's bubbles or bubbles and balloons and stuff, and then like you pop the big ones, they turn into smaller ones. Pop them all, you move on to the next stage, and then there's different configurations, different obstacles in your way, kind of thing. And this is how many different 300 levels, over 300 levels. Oh, it's 3 games in the series on one disc. Over 300 levels of addictive gameplay, mixing lightning quick reactions with brain-stomping puzzles. 3 classic arcade games to challenge the hardcore gamer and hook the casual player. So it's got Buster Buddies, Super Buster Brothers, and the original Buster Brothers. The rules never really change. It's always just about match 3 colors, and then they pop. It's just like I think the only thing that really changes in between them is modes. Like you got like a 2-player mode now. You have like a duel or a co-op or whatever, and now they're online. There's nothing that really changes in the gameplay. It's just always the modes that change. Jason of Corpse Blood Gaming gave this to me when I visited him and the church, the Game Grinder, when I went to Minnesota at the beginning of November. And he gave me a copy of C12 Final Resistance. And this is what is it? Oh, it's a Resident Evil style game. But it looks like there's also like first-person shooting sections in there. But it's a third-person like survival horror game. Still haven't played it. He said he tested it and it worked. Otherwise, he wouldn't have given it to me. So, but I haven't had a chance to try it out yet. So, can't comment. Buster Brothers, so much fun. Dare I say, hidden gem? Oh God, I hate that term. That's why I say diamonds in the rough. This is the 4-player one. Yep, multi-tap. 1 to 8 players. Yep. So we have Cardinal Sin. There was a game being developed. I think it was supposed to be released by Electronic Arts. It was called Thrill Kill. And it was going to be like the first arena-style fighting game. Like a Street Fighter with 4 characters in the arena instead of just 2. And it was going to be in 3D. The only thing was it was going to be so violent and gory that they were already expecting to get like the adults-only rating. And then the game got canceled because the word of mouth was getting around how nasty it was. And like people were complaining and they canceled it. But out of that came this and the Wu-Tang game. The Wu-Tang fighting game, which is exactly what that game is without the gore. So it's a one-on-one fighting game until you start hooking up multi-taps. Then you can have 8 characters fighting. Excuse me, I've got the hiccups all of a sudden. 8 characters fighting in the same arena. That has to be absolute chaos. Outside of that, the game ain't all that great. It's very chaotic. It's hard to see what's going on a lot of times when you have more than 2 players in here. And the graphics and the controls are not that great. So, what can you say? You have Thrill Kill. It's called Wu-Tang, right? You have My Life with the Thrill Kill called. That's what you got. Next up, we have one of my favorite games. I play this all the time. Castlevania Chronicles. This has... Which one's on it? It has... Come on, which games are on here? It goes the original and arranged modes of, I think, the original game, and it also has Rondo of Blood on it. Yeah, if I remember correctly, that's what's on here. Rondo of Blood. This is the only way you can play Rondo of Blood. You have a repro? Ooh. Hook a brother up. I remember playing this, and I remember the soundtrack. I bought the soundtrack to this from Japan before I even played the game, because I love the music in the Castlevania games, especially Castlevania 4. And I heard there was like this arranged soundtrack coming out. Turns out it was from this game. And it had like rearranged stuff from the original game, and I think some of Castlevania 4 in it, because it has Simon's theme, and the first time you heard that was in 4. Was it 2? Was it 2? Yeah, I think it was 2. And it turned out it was from Castlevania. What ended up we getting is Castlevania Chronicles. Rondo's on PSP, yeah. I played the shit out of this back in the day. Never actually beat Rondo of Blood, but I can. Now I own Rondo of Blood for the PC Engine. I own it for this, and I also own it for the PSP, and I own it for the PS4. Goddamn. My nose is itching as all hell. And then we have this classic, which I never saw the appeal to back in the day. Like, okay, so I love me a good Metroidvania. Don't get me wrong. I love it now. back then I didn't know what to make of it. So when I bought Castlevania Symphony of the Night, I did not like it at all. I was like, what the hell is this? Where is my traditional Castlevania? I did not like all the backtracking. I did not like the fact that I wasn't playing as a Belmont and I was playing as Alucard. I just did not like the way it was set up. It was like a maze. I'm like, no, I just want my straightforward Castlevania game. I want it linear as hell. I didn't like this exploration and backtracking crap, and I stopped playing it. Then I hear everybody talking to me about how this is one of the best games ever made. And I was just like, yeah, okay, sure. Yeah, you're crazy. I couldn't stand it. Then I started playing the other games that fall into this genre, and I started seeing the appeal. And then I went back and I started playing Castlevania Symphony of the Night. I was just like, okay, I get it now. Whatever. It's good. I like it now. But if I'm going to play this game, which I'm super thrilled that I held on to my black labeled version, not the greatest hits that everyone else seems to have. I never sold this when I got my collection sold. When I sold off my collection in 2011, I didn't sell this one. Now that I have the Castlevania collection on the PlayStation 4 that I got from Limited Run, which has this and Rondo of Blood on it, that's probably how I'm going to end up playing through this game from beginning to end, because I've never actually beaten it. If I can get some achievements to do it, I'll do it that way. But I like that game now. I did not like it back then because it was different, and I wasn't ready for different. I just wanted my same old Castlevania. But I know the error of my ways now. Forgives me. It's not working, Mountain Dew. You're not doing your job. Picked this one up because of Radical Reggie. I probably should have looked for the PAL version, but I wouldn't be able to play it because I don't have his test PlayStation 2 that lets him play like PAL region games on a regular TV or whatever it is. But I found this at People Play Games when they were still open. They had it in their import section. And I was like, okay, sure. It was like $10 or something. And I was like, I'm not going to pass it up. It's called Chaos Break. Like, for the longest time, Radical Reggie had this as this symbol, the eye, as his YouTube icon when for like your channel. His icon was the eye, which I was like, okay, I guess he really likes this game. And then when I told him I got it, he was like, did you get the PAL one? I'm like, I wouldn't be able to play it if I did. I'm like, what are you thinking? So it's a Resident Evil style survival horror game that he swears by. He thinks this is better than Resident Evil. We shall see. I played through it a little bit on my PS1, but I didn't know what was going on because I don't read Japanese. I don't understand the language. So I do understand there's a patch out there you can apply to this. So when my Polymega finally shows up, I can probably play the patched version of this and actually have it make sense. So, yep, episode from Chaos Heat. Oh, I guess this is part of a series? Okay, whatever. Chaos Break. PS4 has the edited dialogue. What is a man? A miserable pile of secrets. Hey, I know plenty of people that have it. They're saying that they're going to start shipping the people who were like me that didn't back it, that just purchased it off the website. They're supposed to start shipping it like first quarter. I hope. I know people who have actually been selling theirs on eBay because they don't like it anymore. Like, they waited so long and their enthusiasm for it waned, and I don't want it anymore. So I bought this because of Psygnosis' involvement. I didn't know that this was one of the games that they made, but I actively went on a search for like everything Psygnosis, and I bought a copy of Chronicles of the Sword. It's another one of these double width cases, and over 100 breathtaking locations to explore, amazingly animated 3D rendered characters, unsurpassed replication of the King Arthur era, challenging interactive puzzles and combat sequences, movie-style cinematic techniques, and immersive sound effects. You play as Sir Gawain, the heroic knight of the Round Table. You must be quick to uncover the plot of the wicked sorceress Morgana, defeat her before she drives Camelot from peace and prosperity into ruin. I'm not sure what type of game this is because I have not played it. The back does not do any justice. It could be a point-and-click adventure. It could be a third-person beat-em-up. I don't know. But I've never played it, so I cannot comment on what kind of a game it is. I probably should pop it in to make sure that it at least works. But it's 2 discs. So, sure. Next up, we have, I don't know, some people claim this is better than the original game. I've never played either. I bought this back in the day. This is not the same copy I had back in the day because I sold it when I lost my job. But like I bought it on like the weekend it came out because everyone was talking about the original game in the series and how great it was. I never actually played it. I never bought a copy of it because like a year or two after Chrono Trigger came out, like it was really hard to get a copy of it, and I just didn't bother because I didn't really care. But when the sequel came out, Chrono Cross, I jumped on it when I did because I didn't want to have the same like the FOMO thing. I did not want to miss out on this one. Some people tell me this is better than the original. Some people tell me that it's crap compared to the original. I have not played either, so I cannot comment. I'm still trying to find a copy of Chrono Trigger, either for the DS or the Super Nintendo. I can't seem to find one. I can't find one or any of them anywhere. Every time that Square Enix would have like one of their clearance sales from their website, and they'd have like 500 copies of the DS version, the moment I'd get there, it would sell out, like every single time. So can't say if it's good or not. Have not played it because I've never played the original. So, but I wanted to have this back in the day just in case I got the original at some point, because when I got back into collecting for the Super Nintendo back in the late 90s, early 2000s, I was like, yeah, I'll probably find a copy of it. Never did. Never found it. Not even at the video stores I was going to. Here's another Psygnosis joint, and this is a licensed game. One of the random licenses that they picked up. I convinced my boss at the video store I worked at to buy this because we had one copy of the movie, and I was kind of like, hey, look, we can do this like cross thing where like, you know, we rent the movie and the game at the same time and you get like for a special price kind of thing. And he was just kind of like, you're an idiot. Will the PS1 version do of what? Oh, I think I do have that. I do have Chrono Trigger. I have that Final Fantasy collection thing. I forgot. Yeah. I just got excited. Now I know what I'm playing after I play Ys 8. We're talking the City of Lost Children. So this is a French movie, or the City of Lost Children is a French movie by the guy who directed Alien Resurrection and Amelie. And it stars Ron Perlman and a bunch of other French people you probably don't know. And it's just it's kind of like sci-fi. It's kind of goth. It's kind of steampunk. Like this scientist is like kidnapping children because he's trying to learn about how to dream. It's very strange and obtuse, and it's interesting. It's visually amazing. But like the story is just kind of like out there. And I saw the trailer for it on some movie that we had at the video store, and I convinced my boss to buy a copy of it, and he did, and nobody rented it, so he was mad at me for even buying one copy, because don't forget, VHS tapes back in the day, they were like $80-90 a pop, so he was not happy that he was blowing that money and he was not getting any return on his investment. So I convinced him to buy the game too, and this didn't rent because nobody knew that this was based on a movie. It was just a license that nobody knew anything about except for basically me. So it's a Resident Evil style survival horror game, but it's not a survival horror game. It's like an adventure game, but it plays the same as a Resident Evil game. And it's actually not half bad. It's actually pretty cool. It's way better than it has any right to be for a game based on a very obscure French film that like nobody remembers. I like the movie because it's strange and visually it's very awesome. And the game is like an extension of that. It's like more of the movie. It's like the movie's only an hour and a half long. This thing is like 15 hours long. So you get more information about the events in the movie, which is great. So companion piece to the film, hell yeah. And fun to boot. Ooh. Shit, Hackers VHS was $200. We didn't pay that much. We only got 2 copies of that in the store. And then my boss decided to start going with this buyback program where I think it's like 3 or 4 weeks after a movie has been released on VHS, the company that was selling us the tapes will buy them back from us for like half the price so he can sell them used to stores that want more copies. So we only had 2 copies of Hackers. He sold, he sold one to the buyback. Then we only had 1 copy. And I played that movie in the store so much that every time I would put it on, the moment a techno song would start playing, that movie would rent. And someone would be like, can I get that? And I'll be like, yeah, sure. I made that movie rent so much. And then he was pissed that he sold the other one because it was never in stock because of me. I'm a salesman. Here we have Civilization 2. Still haven't played this. It scares me. It sounds like it's so freaking involved and complicated that either A, I'm not going to get any enjoyment out of it, or B, it will suck me in to the point where I won't want to play anything else. So I picked this up dirt cheap at Half Price Books, and that's the only reason it's in my collection. Here we have another Psygnosis joint. I had Psygnosis, their heyday was the Genesis and the PlayStation. They released so many games for both of these consoles. It's insane. Here's Codename Tenka, and this is the first person shooter that they did. That's not too bad, but like every other first person shooter for the PlayStation 1, if it didn't have the two, the dual shot controls, it was that weird way we get to play first person shooters back in the day where the directional pad was to move and the face buttons were to turn and look up and down, and you shot by using the shoulder buttons. So it's a little tricky to get back into playing with those types of controls, but it's actually a pretty decent first-person shooter. I can't complain. Another Psygnosis joint. The next three are Psygnosis. Colony Wars. Absolutely loved this game. I played the shit out of this back in the day because it's like playing Wing Commander. It is essentially Wing Commander, but man, the graphics in this game at the time blew my freaking mind. Everything is so colorful and detailed. Now it isn't all that impressive, but back in 96 or 7 when this came out, it was just like, this is the greatest thing I've ever played. Like Wing Commander 3, what's that? Colony Wars, bitch. I absolutely love this. I never actually beat it. I probably should have, the amount of time I spent playing it, but I never did. I ended up getting distracted by something else and moving on. But this game is so big, it comes on 2 CDs. Boom. I don't have the Bloody Roar games for this console, but I have for another one. You'll see them later. I do want them, though. I did have the first one back in the day. I don't have it now. Turns out Colony Wars was so successful, they made a sequel, Colony Wars Vengeance. And it's more of the same. Better graphics. The controls have been tweaked a little bit. It is absolutely fantastic. If you like the first game, Wing Commander style shoot 'em up where you're inside a spaceship, absolutely recommend both of these games. Got this one from Game Dude when I visited my brother in LA. Fantastic 3D space shooters. And then that was so popular, they made another one. And that is Colony Wars 3 Red Sun. This one was released by Midway, but Psygnosis still developed it. This one's cool. It's just not as good as the other two. It's like they kind of to me, it feels like they didn't want to make a third one and they wanted to move on to something else. But Midway was just kind of like, here's some money, make it for us. And they're like, okay, here's what we got. It doesn't feel like their heart was completely in it, but it's still an awesome, Wing Commander style 3D space shooter. I got that at a Savers of all places. I go to Savers and I find a Psygnosis game randomly on the shelf. And it actually had the disc in it and it didn't look like somebody wiped their ass with it. I wish somebody wiped their ass with this. I don't have the 3D glasses. Oh, I do have the 3D glasses. I didn't think I did. I do. Anyway, I shouldn't be getting excited for this fucking game. Contra Legacy of War. So, like I said, everyone was trying to figure out 3D at the time. So, what was the last Contra game we had gotten before this? Contra Hardcore for the Genesis? So, naturally, Konami's like, hey, PlayStation, 3D. Let's try to make Contra in 3D. No, it does not work. This does not work. No. And there's another one. I think it's See the Contra Adventure. I think it's slightly better than this, but it's still not good. So it's Contra in 3D. The camera is terrible. The weapons are terrible. The enemies are terrible. The play control, everything about this game is just a bad idea. And on top of that, it's in 3D if you want to play it that way. I don't recommend it. Looking forward to the letter E. What's in E? Oh, you're not going to see that today. You're going to see that next week. I bought this back in the day, and I remember being super excited about it. I was like, yes, we have another Contra game. I can't wait to see what this is like. And I played it and I shit you not, 10 minutes. And I basically took the disc out of the PlayStation, and I put it down on my counter. And I was like, next time I go someplace that sells and buys video games, they're getting that back. because this is absolutely god-awful tripe. It is shit. And the sequel is not much better. Better than that, but not by much, I should say. This I got at Goodwill, and I normally wouldn't give a crap about it, but it was like $1.50 or $2 or whatever, so I picked it up. And this is when I was getting back into collecting, and I was just trying to buy games to have. And that's Cool Borders 2001. I don't have any other games in this series. This is the only one because I got it at the Goodwill. It's a snowboard racing game. Big whoop. Fantastic, I guess. Sure. I never played any of these games back in the day. I'm embarrassed that I have to say that, but I always looked at these like little kids' games, and I never bothered. It was this and Spyro I never played back in the day because I just did not care. I was kind of done with the whole mascot thing for a little while, so when these games were the shit, I was just kind of like, just give me another Resident Evil game. I'm good. That's Crash Bandicoot 3 Warped. This is the only one I have for the original PlayStation. I never owned any of these back in the day. I think I played a demo of the first one from some PlayStation magazine that I bought, and it had like the first couple of stages from the original game, and I was just kind of like, whatever. You know, it's on track. It's on track. Like you can't roam around. It's not completely 3D. It's like linear as hell. No, I'm good. And I just never played any of them after that. And then like after the fact, like when I got back into collecting in 2013, I played some of these, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, they're pretty fun. And then I got the collection for the PlayStation 4, which everybody complains about. I don't care, since I never played any of the old games, that the controls were changed to match what they started doing in, I guess, the second or the third one. So the first one controls like the first or the second and third one. And I know that's like an issue for some people. I don't care because I never played them, so I don't have memories of playing it with another control scheme. So that's just me. But found this at, I think, Half Price Books, and I picked it up because gotta have the Crash games. They are considered classics. Must have them. I'll get the other two eventually. Is this another Psygnosis one? I don't think so. It looks like it, but it is not. But here is Crime Killer. I picked this up at that overpriced Play It Retro place, and the only reason I bought this is one of the few that actually had a price on it in the store, and it was not overpriced. It was just kind of like, I think it was like $7 or $8. So I picked it up, and it's kind of like playing G-Police, but you're not in a helicopter thing. You're like in like a futuristic cop car, at least for part of it. I think you do eventually get some sort of an airship. Yeah, it looks like the cover. You get an airship at some point. But it's like a chasing criminals type of game. It's like, okay. It's like a driving game, and it's like, what's it called? Twisted Metal, but with you're playing through a story. So there's that. I picked it up because it was cheap. This is the game I was trying to remember the name of when I was talking about that Bug Riders game. I absolutely love this game. This game owned my life for like a good 3 or 4 months. I love vehicular combat games. Twisted Metal just kind of did it for me. The sequel I thought was even better, like Twisted Metal 2. 3 and 4, no. Small Brawl, no. This, on the other hand, twisted up the formula. Twisted. It changed up the formula enough that it hooked me all over again the way the original 2 did. And that is Critical Depth. This is made by people that made the original 2 Twisted Metal games before they went on to move on to other things, namely this. And this is Twisted Metal, but underwater. And you have full 3D movement. You can go up and swim down and go all around. And you're doing all of the same things you normally would do in Twisted Metal, but it's all taking place underwater. Tons of hidden areas. All the different characters feel different. They all have completely different powers. Some are overpowered, some are underpowered, but sometimes the underpowered guy is the one who wins because he just zips past everybody. I absolutely loved this game. There's so much cool stuff to do. And in this one, it's not like kill everybody, then you win and you move on to the next one. There is like these orbs you need to collect. And once you have the certain amount of orbs, you can go to like a portal that moves you to the next stage. Because the bad guys keep coming back. You'll destroy them and they'll come back again. So it is fantastic. I absolutely love this game. It's one of my favorite games on the PlayStation. This is a midway one-on-one fighting game, but it did not get an arcade release. This went straight to the consoles. And a lot of people don't like it, but I kind of had a soft spot for it. Critical Depth, yep. You can see all the different characters lining the pictures in the center, all different types of boats. If you like vehicular combat games like Twisted Metal, definitely give this one a go. It is amazing. I absolutely love it. So I'm talking here about BioFreaks. So I originally, back in the day, I had the Nintendo 64 version because I could not find this one anywhere when they were released. So I bought the N64 version, and I played the crap out of it. I thought it was a really fun one-on-one fighting game. The character designs are really cool and interesting and kind of gross. There aren't a lot of characters, which is, I think, my biggest problem. And it wasn't, like, super hard. Like, you could just play through it at your own pace. It wasn't like Mortal Kombat where it starts mapping your moves and crap and you can't do anything. It's actually a pretty fun 3D one-on-one fighting game. Naturally, when I got back into collecting, I was like, I don't want to play it on the freaking Nintendo 64 because I hate that console. Get it on the PlayStation 1, and I did. And it turns out this is actually the better version of the two, even though there's some load times. But if you like one-on-one fighting games, and this one's kind of got like another, like, it's trying to be like another Mortal Kombat because you can hack off limbs and stuff, but it's really fun. I like it a lot. I think it was different enough from all the other stuff that was out there at the time. Licensed games, had to get it, had to absolutely get this, but because I love the movie. I absolutely love the movie. I got Blade. It's a 3D beat 'em up where you're playing as Blade, and you're actually playing through the events of the movie, which is pretty cool. You're Blade, Gothic City's baddest vampire hunter. When rival vampire clans ignite a deadly feud, you go deep. You go deep to do some serious demon killing, stalk the undead through 24 Gothic locations, waste them with an arsenal of intense weapons, plus plan on staying up late tonight because an even greater evil waits. Yep, it's gunplay, it's swordplay, it's all the stuff you remember from the movie. Had to have it. It's not the greatest game. It's definitely better than the Game Boy Color Blade game. Because like I said, there's still some growing pains with all the 3D stuff coming out at this time. So it's not super polished, but I love it because it's Blade and it gives you the option between the guns and the swordplay stuff, which is pretty awesome. You gotta go deep. Ooh. What's up, Creepleet? How you doing? Sorry, no Game Gear games tonight, bro. I talked about those a couple weeks back. Okay, next up we have the Blast Chamber. I think I got this at Game Dude, but I might have taken the label off. I don't remember much about this. I think it's like a game show. Yeah, it's 2,090 sticks, and having a bomb strapped to you is a sport. Turn it in or burn in it. Yeah, I still haven't played this one, so I can't comment. But it looked kind of cool, and I got it dirt cheap, which is why it's in my collection. Here's another Psygnosis joint. Had to get this because this is essentially when Psygnosis is thinking about moving on from doing those Colony Wars games. They also made this one, like, I think soon after, too. And that is Blast Radius. Yeah, from the company that brought you Colony Wars. It's another Wing Commander-styled 3D outer space dogfight shooter type game, and it's actually pretty rad. New combat or new ship designs and stuff. Nothing is brought over from Colony Wars at all. You can kind of see like some of the weird designs of ships on the cover too. So there's that. I absolutely love it. It's just as good as Colony Wars. So had to have that because I love that genre. Absolutely. What's up, Retro Coop? How's it going? This is not good. Not good at all. Like talking about like trying to bring an old 2D franchise into 3D and it just does not work out. We got Blaster Master blasting again. Yeah, absolutely not. Even though Blaster Master 2 on the Genesis was not good, this one, like, it's like, no, just no. Like, the controls are freaking terrible. And the camera on this is atrocious. Like, sometimes it just, like, rams into your freaking car. It's like, I don't understand it. Like, people could not figure out how to do 3D. And especially, like, when you would rush it. Like, as much as I don't like Super Mario 64, I will say that that game is polished to perfection. Like, there are no real problems. Like, sometimes the camera can get in the way of things. But for the most part, like, it was so well thought out. I just don't like the way the game is set up. But like other games, it's like you should have just taken the time. Who cares if the game gets delayed a few times? Work it out to the point where it's fun, because some of these games just, it turns out to not be fun when you do that. But it's the same kind of setup as the original Blaster Master games, where you get out of the car and you can walk around on foot, but the controls and the camera are terrible. So, ugh. Here is a new mascot. It was trying to be the new mascot for Sony at some point. I don't think they had officially made Crash the PlayStation mascot, but there's Blasto, and it has one of those metallic covers, that's reflective covers. And this is like a 3D platformer, run and gun type of thing. I haven't spent a lot of time playing this. I did not have this one back in the day, so I can't really talk about what it was like in the the 90s playing this, but it always got good. I remember getting good reviews, and people that I knew that had played it thought it was pretty cool. So sure, but this was like released by Sony. I remember they were trying to push him, but I think Crash caught on faster than he did. I honestly think this has a long box version. I could be wrong, but Blazing Dragons. This is a point and click cartoon. Has the voice of Terry Jones from Monty Python and Cheech Marin from Cheech and Chong. Gut Shot, Bad Way to Die. Phil Hartman. Oh yeah, Phil Hartman does the voice of Blasto, doesn't he? Yep, Phil Hartman is the voice of Blasto. I forgot about that. That's cool. R.I.P. Phil Hartman. Yeah, I haven't put a whole lot of time into this one either, but point and click cartoon, sure, why not? I like those types of games. I just never can find the time to sit down and play them. This, on the other hand, I played a lot back in the day. Never beat it. Always new games coming out back in the day, and it was always something new, so my attention would get drawn elsewhere. So we're talking Blood Omen, Legacy of Kain, the OG. I absolutely love this game. As a horror fan, the first time I saw Kain suck someone's blood out from across the screen and this line of blood came from the character and goes straight into your character's mouth, I orgasmed. I was like, this is the coolest fucking thing I've ever seen. It's a fantastic, I don't know if I'd consider this an RPG. It's kind of like playing Legend of Zelda, but you're a vampire. It's kind of like, it's a top-down adventure game with some beat-em-up aspects to it. I wouldn't really call this an RPG. It's fantastic. It launched a franchise, and I wish that franchise was still going, but they ended it with, what was it, Defiance? I wish they would just reboot it and start again, because can you imagine a Legacy of Kain game with the modern graphics and everything? I would absolutely love that. I would play the shit out of it. I love this game. I need to sit down and play through it all the way, finally. Pick this one up at Game Dude. You can see it on the back, the Game Dude sticker. Brahma Force, the Assault on Belt Logger 9. And I do believe this is one of those, it's one of those full motion video games where you have a movie playing and you have a reticle over the footage and there's bad guys that come out from the footage that you have to shoot. Yay. Just like Nova Storm or Microcosm or Starblade, that kind of thing. So there's that. It was cheap. They do need to do that. I made a video years ago about franchises that I want to see resurrected on modern consoles, and Legacy of Kain was definitely one of them. Especially as much as I would love to see just the Legacy of Kain, Kain come back, the character. I also want to see Raziel come back because I loved Raziel. I thought his Soul Reaver games are awesome. Here we have Bravo Air Race, which I picked up at Video Games. People Play Games, my old retro store. And I found this when they were closing. I picked this up because they had it discounted to the point where it was $1.50. And all it really is a airplane racing game. It's almost like Twisted Metal with planes, but you're mostly racing. And there's a little bit of combat in there. But for the most part, I was just kind of for $1.50, sure. Haven't really put a whole lot of time into it, but it just seemed fun. Blood Omen franchise naming is so convoluted. Yeah, was it Blood Omen or Legacy of Kain, Blood Omen, and then they made Blood Omen 2. And then they have Legacy of Kain, Soul Reaver 1 and 2. And then they did Defiance, which is the one where the two franchises or the two characters came together. I have all of them, but I want more. I picked this one up at Gen Con of all places. Was it this one? Yeah, it was this one. I picked this up at Gen Con. I think. Yes, this one. Breath of Fire 4. This was the first Breath of Fire game I had ever owned. I found this and I think it was $30 at Gen Con, so I picked it up. Because I know these games go for a pretty penny, especially the ones on the Super Nintendo. But this is a tactical RPG or a strategy RPG, if I remember correctly. And I haven't played a whole lot of these in the past, so I didn't know what to expect. But I was really thrilled to be able to find this for a dirt cheap price compared to what I remember seeing these games going for online at the time. So I picked it up, and I still haven't played it. Maybe I will add the first one, because I do believe I have the first one. Yes, I do. I had the first one for the Super Nintendo. Maybe I'll add that to my list of RPGs to play this year. This one, okay, so A friend of mine, the Star Wars fan film trilogy that I made in the early 2000s, the guy that I had asked to play the Sith, the villain in the series, invited me and a bunch of the cast and a couple of his other friends to go and see this anime that was playing downtown Chicago called X. Didn't know anything about it, but I was just thrilled to be going to see an anime movie in a theater. I don't think I'd ever done that before. And we go to his house in Chicago to meet up, and he's playing this game, and we ended up standing there and watching it for probably a half an hour playing it because he was trying to get to a point where he could save. And all of us were just kind of like, huh, that's kind of cool. Fan film. Yeah, I made a trilogy of Star Wars fan films. Only 2 of them have been released. The third one we never were able to finish because the main actress hurt her back and we couldn't finish the final fight scene. Anyway, so the game he was playing was Brigandine, The Legend of Forcina or whatever. And this is like a tactical RPG, like a strategy RPG. And we were watching Marin play this for, like I said, a half an hour. And every one of us was kind of like, this is kind of cool. I think I kind of want to own this. And I remember at least me and my buddy Charlie, Epic Dice Studio, who was there too, were kind of like, we want this. Like, I want this so bad. And I remember going to there was this store in like a really expensive part of town that's maybe like from where I am now, it's probably like 40 minutes away, that had this game in their case. And back in the 90s we're talking, or no, early 2000s, so it's probably 2001. This game was already going for like 70 or 80 bucks used. Like it was like, I guess rare or something, or it was really hard to find. I don't know, but like it was expensive like months after it came out. And eventually I found a copy on Facebook when I got back into collecting. And I was super thrilled that I was able to get it. And it did not have to pay out the ass for it, thankfully. The only problem is this does not come with the map that it's supposed to come with. It just has the game and the rather thick manual that you need to play this game because it is very complicated. It has a very steep learning curve. But I remember watching and playing. I thought it was fantastic. I played it for like maybe like a day when my copy showed up in the mail. But I was pretty thrilled. Maybe I'll add that to my list too. I have the sequel to that for the Switch of all freaking consoles. Super hard game to find. Super low print run, even for Atlas. Yeah, like I said, it was like months. Like I remember the game had come out. I didn't have any interest in it, but I remember reading about it in the magazines at the time. And then I see it like maybe 3 months after it had come out at Marin's house. And then me and Charlie go looking for it. We find it at that store, and they're already asking like 70, 80 bucks for it. And we're like, no, I don't want it that bad. I found a copy of this out when I was game hunting with Captain Algebra and Tiger Chainsaw and Rocket Sauce, and that is Darklight Conflict. Here's another Wing Commander style outer space vehicular shooter. Absolutely love these games. This is also available on the Switch or the Saturn. When I was at Mo Game Con earlier last year, in the summer of last year, I found a copy of this at a table on the Saturn, and I was like, I will come back for you because I am looking for something specific right now, and I don't want to get distracted. I don't foresee that game selling, so I will be back for you. Did my lap around the entire dealer's area, found the stuff I was looking for, went back to that table, and it sold. Shit. I was kind of bummed because I really wanted it. Luckily, I found the PlayStation version, which probably would run a little bit better because, like I said, 3D on the Saturn is not the greatest thing ever. So I'm glad that I found this version of it. Then it's a fantastic game. Absolutely love it. One of them was your pre-order? Jesus. I picked this up at Half Price Books, dirt cheap. I think I paid like $5 for this back in the day. And then I posted like my picture that I usually take at the end of every week when I'm collecting. Like, here's the stuff that I added in my collection this week. And a bunch of people commented this was like a very underrated RPG. And it's called Darkstone. I didn't really know anything about it when I bought it. I was just like a $5 PlayStation game, and it looks kind of cool. Sure. And like I said, a whole bunch of people were commenting saying like, hey, man, that's a pretty underrated game right there. So I'm thrilled. In DSi, I think I just saw a video about DSi. That is funny. So you see DSi right there. I don't remember the name. I can't really read what it says in the fine print about what the actual name is, but I was watching a bunch of videos at work today by Good Bad Flicks, and every once in a while he'll do a Good Bad Games episode, and he was doing one about the Legend of Zelda games that were on the CDI, and DSi was the company that was making those games. So that's funny that I watched those videos today, and then I see that logo on this game. That's quinky. So I hear good things about that. Maybe I'll add that to my list too. So I was talking about Critical Depth being like a really awesome vehicular combat game underwater. Well, we have another one. This one's on the water, though. It's not under the water. This one's on the water, but it's another vehicular combat game, and it's dead in the water. Not as good as Critical Depth. But if you like Twisted Metal, it's essentially the exact same thing. It's just I'm not in the roads. You're just fighting on a bunch of ultralights that are armed to the teeth. It's fun. I like it a lot. But I would still, if I was given the choice, you want to play Dead on the Water or Dead in the Water or Critical Depth, I'll definitely pick Critical Depth every time. The fact that you can just completely move in 3D in any direction it makes that game so much fun. This is cool too, but it's not the greatest between the two. Here is one by, was it Peter Molyneux, I think, developed this one? Or no, was it different? I don't remember. Anyway, Death Trap Dungeon. I found this at Half Price Books. And this is like a 3D adventure game, I guess. I haven't put a whole lot of time into it. Can't really comment. But I just remember looking at the back of that and going, that looks kind of cool. But I have not spent a lot of time. I just checked it out to make sure the disc worked and put it on the shelf. And it has remained on the shelf since. So, yeah. Showing you how my collecting goes is like I just tried out to make sure I didn't buy a dud. And then it just gathers dust. Oh, backlogs. So this one I've been looking for forever. I love this franchise. The first one was okay. It didn't make me want to own it. The second one was the one where I rented it, and I was like, now this is awesome. And then I heard about a third one coming out, and I could never find it anywhere. Until People Play Games, my old retro store, was going out of business, and they had this. And on top of the fact that I was getting, was it 25% off everything? I was like, oh shit, let me have it. And that is Deception 3 Dark Delusion. This is Tecmo's Deception Part 3. The names this franchise has are like all over the place. So the first game was called Tecmo's Deception. And then the second one's called Kagero Deception 2. And now you got Deception 3 Dark Delusion. So I have all three of the games on the PlayStation. And they're all in different parts of the collection because I go alphabetical. So it's like they're all over the freaking place. But the whole idea behind this game is you play as the bad guy. People are trying to break into your castle to kill you. So you have to constantly be setting all these crazy traps in order to stop them from getting to you. You also have a little bit, at least in the second game, you have a little bit of magical ability. You can kind of shoot at people. But mostly you have like these experience points that you gain every time you kill somebody, and you can build a bigger trap. Like there'll be like a boulder on a chain that swings and hits them and you can kill them. Like a big bear trap on the floor that'll, crush the person. Stuff like that. And then the more experience points, the further you get in the game, the more elaborate the traps get, the more violent they get. It is super fun and different. The first game was cool, but it was like kind of rough around the edges. The second game, Kagero, was where it was at. It was like massively awesome. Like I played the shit out of that. Like I rented it, and then like the next day I went out and bought my own copy. I picked this one up because I've been trying to get it for the longest time. I still have not played this one yet, though. I tried it out to make sure it worked, but it's obviously more of the same. And we have a modern era sequel that came out for the PlayStation 3 and 4 called Deception 4. Absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. I need to sit down and play through that. Tecmo always has naming issues. Yeah, Deception always reminds me of Grim 2 Traps books. Never heard of those. Come over here. I did not know this game existed. So last week, talking about the long boxes, I talked about the first game in this series. I did not know that it had a sequel. I knew it had sequels and add-ons because it was a PC game originally. I knew there was like these like add-on packs that you could buy for the game. I did not know that we got like a compilation of that for the PlayStation. Grimtooth? Yeah, never heard of those. And that's Descent Maximum. This is like a sequel to Descent and all of the DLC, like not DLC, but like the add-on packs mixed into one. And it's more of the 3D shooter stuff that the first game was, where you're like flying through all these underground tunnels in complete 3D, up, down, all over the place, trying to kill all the other enemies that are in the space with you. And it's fun. It can get a little disorienting at times. I remember multiple times I'm like, where the hell am I on this map again? Like, I got turned upside down and now I don't know which direction I'm traveling. But outside of that, it was super fun. But like, I went to that overpriced Play It Retro place by me. Well, it's not really by me, in Berwyn. And they had this there. And this is one that they actually had a price tag on. And I think I picked this up when I took Captain Algebra there. And I was just kind of like, yeah, sure. I mean, at least I'm not going to check up eBay to see how much this goes for. I couldn't tell you how much it went for, but I saw it and I was just kind of like, I have to have that. I have the first game, so why not? Comedy book for D&D. Oh, okay. Talking about the first game in this series that I have for the long boxes also, and this is another Psygnosis joint, and that is Destruction Derby 2. Had to have this one because this was the one that I remember playing a lot back in the day. This one is like super polished. The graphics are fantastic. Everything about the first one that I complained about has been fixed in this one. It controls very well. The graphics are great. It has multiple different modes. Destruction Derby is obviously fantastic, but it also has like just straight up racing. And it's kind of like playing Burnout a little bit. Like the crashing is all part of the race, which is pretty fun. So I can't complain. This is definitely an upgrade from the original game. This one I picked up, did not know this existed. I picked this up at People Play Games, and you can see how much I paid for it because the label is still on it. And this was developed by, so maybe, did Midway just buy a whole bunch of licenses from Psygnosis? Because Psygnosis developed it, but Midway released it. And it's another Destruction Derby game. It's Destruction Derby Raw. And it's more of the same, just a little bit more polished, a couple more modes. This one has like 4-player split-screen multiplayer stuff, and sure. But like I said, I like $15.99 is what I paid for it. I did not know this existed. I went to People Play Games. I saw this sitting on their usually pretty bare OG PlayStation shelf. And I saw this sitting there, and I was like, is that what I think it is? And I took it out and saw the little owl figure down there, the little owl symbol for Psygnosis. And I was like, I don't care what it costs. You're coming home. Come on. And it's okay. I like Destruction Derby 2 more. Always drive in reverse and protect the engine. All the motion sickness in one. Hell yeah. I remember watching one of my friends play the demo of this because there was a demo of this in some PlayStation magazine of the day. And I thought it looked kind of interesting, but I never actually played it. My friend his brother ended up buying a copy of this and playing it all the time. And I remember I'd be at my friend Tom's house, my friend that I used to hang out with Tom back in the day. And like we'd be watching something on TV, and his brother would be in the corner because he had a second TV in the corner, and he'd be playing this in the background. And I remember kind of going like, whatever. But when I played the demo, and I was kind of like, oh, this is actually pretty fun. I don't know if I'd actually want to own it back in the 90s, but it was kind of cool. It's called Double Dice. I think this is on the PlayStation Mini or the PlayStation Classic, or is that Intelligent Cube? I always get these two games mixed up. But this one is you're a little kid in like a devil suit, and you're just moving dice around and trying to match up the numbers, and you can like run on top of them to get them to flip. It's pretty fun. I mean, I only played it briefly back in the day, but I thought it was fun. And then I found this at Half Price Books, and I was like, oh, that thing, I remember that. Give it here. So picked it up. I need to sit down and play through it some more and get more of a feel for it, but I remember enjoying it a lot back in the day, and I just never owned a copy of it back then. Here is one that I had I have total interest in this franchise now. Back in the day, I did not care. A lot of times when it was coming from like a PC game, that a lot of like, even like the PC Master Race stuff was coming from back in the day, back when everyone was playing IBM and whatever, they're all like, yeah, PC games are definitely better than the console stuff. And I'd be like, up your butt. Everyone's like first-person shooters still nowadays, first-person shooters on the PC is better than the home consoles. No, I don't like using a mouse and a keyboard. But like everyone was always saying that like this game, like it should never be ported to a home console ever. How are you going to play that on a home console? And I didn't care. I was just like, I don't care because I'm not going to play it because I'm sick of hearing people talk about it. But now I've played the sequels, at least the third one. I can't wait for the fourth one that's coming out. And I found this at People Play Games. They had this in their expensive case, and I think it was like $50. And I was like, this goes for way more than that online because I have looked. And that is the original Diablo. I had no interest in this back in the day, like I said. But nowadays, I've played through, like, Diablo 3 was one of the first games I bought for my PlayStation 4. And, like, I bought the PlayStation 4 right before my holiday vacation that I take every year, where I take the last 2 weeks of the year off. That was when I bought my PS4. It was right before that vacation. And then I got a copy of Diablo 3 right before my vacation for Black Friday. And I played that my entire vacation. I was, like, staying up till the wee hours of the morning playing it. I was so addicted. I was playing it so long that the controller would die in my hand. That's how much I was into it. So naturally, I'm a Diablo fan now. I want the original game, and sadly, it was super expensive. Luckily, I found this dirt cheap, because that People Play Games store, that guy just, I don't think he even knows what eBay is. He just goes by what he thinks it'll sell for. I think he's just trying to move product. Yes, it is very basic when compared to what Diablo 3 is, but I don't care. I absolutely love this franchise now. I wish we would get that Diablo 2 Resurrection on a home console so we could play it on, on my side. I don't want to play it on a PC at all. But dungeon crawl awesomeness, RPG, absolutely love this franchise. I cannot wait to sit down and play through this. Would you consider this an RPG? Because if it is, I will add it to my list of things to play this year. Here's another one that I played a lot back in the day, just like Alien Trilogy. Then I'm adding it to my list of games I should play this year. Yeah, just like Alien Trilogy, this other trilogy of 20th Century Fox properties, I used to play this one all the time too, and that's Die Hard Trilogy. I love this game. I added this to my... it was my 31 Days of Licensed Games series that I did in January last year. This was, I think, the action games that I did. I chose this for best game. It's 3 games in one. Each movie got its own playstyle. It's not like Alien Trilogy where it's just full first-person shooters throughout all 3 movies. This one, each movie got its own playstyle. So the first movie, Die Hard, has like this 3D third-person adventure shooter thing going on, where you're playing as McClane. You're going through the Nakatomi Plaza. You're trying to rescue hostages, you go basically from floor to floor, and there's a certain amount of terrorists on each floor and a certain amount of hostages. You need to save them all and kill all the terrorists. The second movie, Die Hard 2 Die Harder, is an on-rails, like, virtual cop style light gun game, but you don't have to use a light gun. I don't even think this uses the light gun. It's mouse compatible, but I was using the controller. And it's fun, but I think it's the weakest of the 3 games in it. And then the third movie, Die Hard with a Vengeance, is you're in a taxi, just like in the movie, and you're looking for all the bombs that Simon has dropped all over the city, and you destroy them by running into them with the car. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but video games, what can you do? That's the one that I played the most, was the Die Hard with a Vengeance one. That stuff was so much fun. It's almost like playing Burnout. You're just like bashing cars, trying to get to the next bomb before it blows up the city. It's fantastic. I absolutely love it. This was one of my favorite games on the PlayStation. Yeah, you can't use a light gun, but I was told somewhere that if you have Die Hard Trilogy for the Saturn, it does use a light gun. I might need to look that up. So naturally, the Die Hard Trilogy was so popular that it got a sequel. So we got Die Hard Trilogy 2, Viva Las Vegas. So I was working... When this came out was when I was in between jobs. I had just stopped working at this limousine place in the billing department. I quit. I was trying to get a job at the place that I ended up getting fired from in 2011. So that was GE. I was trying to get a job there, and I was just waiting for the call to come in and interview. They were interested, but they were just kind of like taking their sweet ass time trying to call me in for the interview. So in the meantime, I needed money. So I went back to Kmart, and I was working in the electronics section like 3 days a week or whatever, just so I could have some money in my pocket to have money for gas and stuff. And this came out while I was working there, and I was like, oh shit, I know what my tiny little paycheck I'm getting this week is going toward. So picked up a copy of this, and I was like, oh no. It basically does the same stuff the original game did. It's 3 more games based on 3 movies that don't exist. And in the same style, you've got another third-person action adventure shooter. You've got another light gun sort of game. And then you've got another car game. Does this one use a light gun? Yes, this one does support a light gun and the mouse and something else. I can't read it. It's too dark in here. Light gun, 2 different types of light gun compatible. It's okay. There's 2 different light guns, it says. It might be the Namco one and maybe the Sony branded one. I don't know. Sure, the graphics have been greatly improved. I mean, look at this from the third-person action part. You got all the lighting effects and stuff. It looks fantastic. It's just that they're not as fun. I think a different company worked on this. Yeah, a different company worked on this one. And it's not that fun. I think this is Probe. And this is somebody else. I can't even read what it says right there. It's just not that fun compared to the first one. The fact that they just recycled what each of those games were instead of doing something completely different just bummed me out. So I was not happy with that purchase, especially when I wasn't making all that much money at the time. Here's a classic. So I don't have the first one of these for this console because I have it for the Dreamcast, so I didn't want to own this twice. We got Dino Crisis 2. Dino Crisis is Capcom trying to transplant their Resident Evil survival horror formula from like a horror game to like an action game involving resurrected dinosaurs. And this is the sequel, and it's okay from what I remember. I did not play this one a whole lot. I played a lot of the first one back in the day, but I never really played a whole lot of this one because I never beat the first one. But sure, Resident Evil style survival horror with dinosaurs and stuff. Sure, why not? Yeah, I'm one of the few people that really liked Live Free or Die Hard. In the US, it was called Live Free or Die Hard. Everywhere else, I think it was called Die Hard 4.0 or whatever. But yeah, I really liked that one because even though it wasn't R-rated in the States, I thought they focused more on like really cool stunts and stuff like that. But the fifth one, holy shit. What the hell? I don't know what it was called in other parts of the world, but Die Hard 5 over here was called A Good Day to Die Hard, and it was no. The guy who directed that movie, every movie he makes is trash. I don't know why he still works. Yeah, 4.0. Yeah, here it was Live Free or Die Hard. I actually prefer Die Hard 4.0. That makes more sense as it has the whole hacking thing going on. Here's another game that I played the crap out of back in the day, Disruptor. Another first-person shooter, but like this and Doom were the ones that really grabbed me. This one has like a psychic powers angle to it. So you're playing as like this soldier who was accepted into this certain program of like anti-terrorism, or I can't remember what the hell you were fighting. The Light Stormer Corps. Yeah, the enemy, you're trying to take out the enemies of United Earth. So the first couple of levels, you don't have any powers because you're being sized up to see if you're worth giving the powers to, because it costs millions of dollars to put these, give a person these powers. And it's told through these horrifically cheesy live action cutscenes. The acting is so bad. Like you have the line from Mortal Kombat Annihilation where Sindel does that whole like, too bad you will die. You know, that ain't nothing on what's in this. It is some of the worst acting in a video game ever. But it also makes it kind of awesome because you can just sit there and laugh at it. Like, I can't believe that people are able to keep straight faces. But like eventually they deem you worthy if you keep beating the levels, and they'll start giving you these like psychic powers that can shoot out like a blast of energy or these like light balls and stuff like that. And it turns into a really fun game. I remember I beat this one, I want to say within like 3 or 4 days. Like I was just totally addicted. I thought this was absolutely fantastic, even with the incredible bad cutscenes. But I loved this game. I absolutely did. And this was developed by Insomniac Games. You can see it right there. Insomniac. This is like one of the first things they did. It's fantastic. Get that one. I think I had that one on my Diamonds in the Rough for the PlayStation 1 also. This one is another one that I had no idea it existed, but Dreamcatcher apparently does a lot of Resident Evil style survival horror games. And I remember finding this one at Half Price Books, and it was like $3. So it's called Dracula: The Last Sanctuary. Number 1, I'm a horror fan. Had to pick it up. And number 2, if I remember correctly, this one is like a Resident Evil style game. As Jonathan Harker, you know that your wife, Mina, is trapped under a vampire spell and will never be safe as long as Dracula's still alive. You must now hunt down Dracula in an attempt to vanquish him forever. Follow a lethal trail in a chase from London back to Transylvania from an insane asylum to Dracula's castle and through an underground prison littered with the bones of forgotten men, arriving finally at Dracula's last sanctuary. Only with your wits and ingenuity can Dracula be defeated. Freely explore. Yeah, oh my god, the type is so small. Stunning 3D graphics and animation, over 30 hours of gameplay, solve challenging puzzles. So yeah, it is essentially a Resident Evil survival horror game just involving Dracula, and that is awesome. I love Dracula, vampire lore, and all that kind of stuff, so this definitely appealed to me, and also it was dirt cheap, so why not? And then this one I got off of Facebook of all freaking places. Someone was selling this in a group, and this was like right when I got back into collecting. And like I said, I was just trying to gather as many games as I possibly could, as cheaply as I could. And at the time, I shit you not, Facebook back in like 2013 and 2014, it was the place to get games. I never got screwed. I never bought something off of somebody in a group and like it never got sent to me. I bought so much. Like one of the reasons why my Nintendo NES collection was so big so soon was because of Facebook. Like I was in so many groups and so many people were selling like stuff that was in good condition and cheap. Like I amassed a gigantic collection basically because of Facebook. And then once that started to dry up, you know, that was when I started going to like eBay and Amazon and the stores and whatnot. So one of the games I got off of Facebook is Dragon Valor. I knew nothing about it. Like I said, I was just trying to buy games. And I think this is an RPG. It says it's 2 discs. It looks like an RPG, kind of. Couldn't tell you, because I remember I just popped it in to make sure it booted, and then I put it on the shelf. But it looks cool, so maybe I'll add this to the list of games I'll play this year also. Yep, an RPG. See how many RPGs I have, and I have never played any of them. I am stupid. This, on the other hand, I played the crap out of back in the day. And it's called Driver. You Are the Wheelman. I wanted this game back in the day because I read in a magazine that it had a director's mode. And me being like a filmmaker, that was like, yes. So what you do is you go into the director's mode, you do a race, or you just, you know, you're driving like the car from the cover, and you do like a chase scene. Like you piss off the cops, you end up getting chased by the cops. You can do whatever you want, and the game remembers what you did. And then from that point on, when you finish that race that you're doing or that chase scene, you can put the camera in all these different places and put together like a little chase movie with all these different angles. As long as the camera can fit, you can do it. And I put together like this epic freaking like chase scene that lasted a good 10 minutes. And I used to have it on VHS. I might still have it somewhere on VHS. And I was so proud of it. I thought it was the coolest thing ever. And every time I would try to do it after that one, it never was as good as that first one. So I stopped playing it. But like on its own, without the director's mode, it's a pretty decent racing game. It's pretty cool. It's like playing a kind of like GTA, I guess. But it's a pretty fun game. I don't think any of the sequels actually had the driver's mode. I could be wrong. Because right here I've got Driver 2, and I got this for $1 slim at a Half Price Books warehouse sale. They're like way before COVID. Like once a year, Half Price Books would have like this clearance sale where they're just trying to get rid of like all this overstock they had in their warehouses that all the other stores had like multiple copies of already and they weren't selling. So everything in the place was a buck. CDs, books, games, movies, everything was a buck. And I remember I went there and I was like, oh, I'm glad they have carts, because once I hit that video game section, this is going to get filled up. And I sure did. I got so many freaking games for $1 each. I think I spent like $25 and every game was $1. And this was one of them. But I have not played it. I basically just made sure it worked and I put it on the shelf. Couldn't say if this actually has the director's mode in it or not, but it's just more of the same apparently. Different vehicles to drive, obviously, but it's another Grand Theft Auto style game. Yeah, it was revolutionary for the time. This I can't really comment to. The other ones I can, but this one I did not really know existed until I got back into collecting, and then I like found out about it, and I was like, I need it because I have to have all the games in this franchise. Duke Nukem Land of the Babes. I had no clue that this was a thing, but this is a third-person Duke Nukem game. And from what I read after the fact, this was not well received, like, at all. Even the back doesn't really show you what's going on. It just shows, like, Duke with a bunch of women and stuff. But it's apparently a third-person action shooter, and not a very good one at that. So I can't really comment because I have not played this one very much. But I did play a lot of Duke Nukem Time to Kill. So I had this one back in the day. This one was actually developed by 3D Realms. I don't know if this was. Yeah, this one wasn't. A completely different company did that. 3D Realms, who made the original game, did this. And this is another third-person Duke Nukem game, but this one was actually done pretty decently, if I remember correctly. Yeah, this is the one that has the opening with the song by Stabbing Westward. There's like a opening cinematic, and Stabbing Westward sings this song, The Thing I Hate, I think it was, that plays over, and it gets you totally pumped to play the game. It does control a little wonky, like 3D, like I said, still trying to be figured out. It's kind of like playing Siphon Filter, I guess, is what it reminded me the most of. But I played this one quite a bit back in the day. I never beat it, but I enjoyed it, especially because Stabbing Westward was one of my favorite bands back in the day. I still enjoy them now. So played that one a lot, but I also was not aware back in the day that this came out on the PlayStation. And that is the original Duke Nukem games, and that's Duke Nukem Total Meltdown. And you might notice that it's been signed by somebody. Yeah, this is the original first-person shooters of Duke Nukem, and I think one of the add-on packs is mixed in here also. It's a very good port. I like it. The one on the Saturn, I think, is actually just a little bit better. But this one's pretty cool. I think it's called Total Meltdown because this has, like, at least one, like I said, one add-on pack mixed in. But Midwest Gaming Classic in 2018, John St. John, who voices Duke Nukem, was there. And I got him to sign this, which he was thrilled about. He was like, oh my God, like sweet. Like everyone was bringing up the PC games and stuff like that for him to sign. I got him to sign this and one other game, which you will see in a different video. And someone else signed that one as well. So it was really cool to meet him. He was the nicest guy. Like he would be like, honestly, if you were to ask him to flop around on the ground like a fish, he would probably have done it. He was doing, and like people were getting to do like opening messages, like, you know, you're watching, you know, Jason from Corpse Flood Gaming had him do like an audio thing where he's like, this is Duke Nukem, you know, John St. John, you're watching Corpse Flood Gaming, you know, rock on suckers or some shit like that. And it was really cool watching him do that stuff. And he was just so nice. I got a picture with him and he just like basically like bear hugged me with his arm, almost choked me out. It was really cool. But I love first person shooters. Duke Nukem was one of the OGs. Had to have that. Yeah, after hearing it in that game, yeah, I remember going like, is that Stabbing Westward? That must be from the new album. Fuck, I'm missing a new album from them. And then the last game I'm going to talk about tonight is Dune 2000. So Dune was actually more well regarded as like a strategy game on PCs and stuff than for the movie that came out in 84. There's been multiple Dune games. This one was ported over from PC. It's by Westwood Studios, the people that make, what is it, Command and Conquer. So it's very Command and Conquer-esque, but it's all very futuristic and sci-fi-y to mix in with the Dune license. And it's pretty fun. I played it for a little while when I first got it because I was curious. And because the Dune games that I have are all like they're like playing Mass Effect almost. So it's not this. So I was really excited to see what it was like. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. It's a strategy type of game, you know, whatever, like StarCraft kind of thing. I'm cool with that. I'm just happy to have a game that's got the Dune license. And that's it for tonight, everybody. I didn't think I was going to have enough to talk about for two hours. Apparently, I did. Look at these 3 stacks. And that's nothing compared to what is left to talk about. Like I said, this is going to be like 4 or 5 streams, guys. Too much shit. And I farted. Anyway, thank you very much for hanging with me tonight. It's awesome to see all of you here. Thanks, Game Room and Mondane, and let's see who else. Creepleet, Retro Coop. Let's see who else was here earlier on. There was a bunch of people. J Chip, happy birthday again! If you watch this after the fact. Yeah, everybody, you're awesome. Thank you for hanging out with me tonight. I really appreciate it. I'll be back again tomorrow with another short that I'll be uploading probably midday. And next Thursday, once again, I'll be back with another episode in the PlayStation Video Game Collection 2023 streams, 8:30 p.m. Central. Be here. Hopefully, if you can make it, that would be awesome. I love hanging out with everybody. Definitely more games to talk about, some imports and stuff like that, some cool stuff, probably Lunar. Yeah, I will talk to you all later. Have a good night, everybody. Stay safe out there. Chris, the old ass retro gamer, out. Have a good night.
I'm not a stinky.
Check it out.